claims about how Al Franken stalked and harassed her after a joint TV appearance. And we're also joined by Brian Maloney, also of the Media Equalizer duo, who's been investigating Franken's past for us. Both of you, it's good to see you tonight. Melanie, I want to start with you. By the way, likes and respects Al Franken. I should add that. But given your own experience, are you surprised? And then tell us what your experience was.
I'm not surprised at all, Laura. And first of all, I'd just like to say that I'm here with you tonight without a lawyer, wearing a red coat with a box of Kleenex and a bucket of tears. I'm here because of a true story that I want to share with you. It is a story of harassment and intimidation that took place 17 years ago in 2000. August 19th of 2000 is when I was invited to appear on the Bill Maher show, Politically Incorrect, before it moved over to HBO, is at ABC. And I was one of the panelists, one of the guests. I was the token conservative, and Al Franken was the liberal, along with a former lieutenant governor of Colorado and actor Billy Baldwin. I was involved in just a kind of a really mundane argument over policy numbers about, you know, the budget numbers and making some sort of point about that. But I'll tell you what, Al Franken got right in my face, and he just kept coming back over the top, and I would challenge him about those numbers, and he would come back over the top. Finally, the show was over, and Laura, he trailed me, stalked me back, really, to the green room, where he got in my face again, got very aggressive with me. I felt physically intimidated, and then he followed me out of the studio. And I thought the story would end there, but it did not. Apparently, he got my phone number from one of the show producers, and he started calling me at home and harassing me, but trying to prove to me how right he was. And finally, on the third phone call, I told him if he didn't back off, that I was going to call the police and make a police report about his behavior. I found it so creepy and so disturbing and obsessively weird. And it's an experience that has informed me about him all these years. I never could understand why the people of Minnesota elected him as a United States Senator. And yes, I did talk about it in live on the radio on my talk show in San Francisco, the Lee Rogers and Melanie Morgan show, after it happened. So I didn't stay silent about it. But it's funny, Laura, because people they didn't seem to really care about that sort of behavior until just recently.
Yeah, well, Melanie, I'm really glad you told the story. I've had some run-ins with Al Franken over the years, and he's so insignificant to me. Like, I remember he was sputtering, he was so angry, he was like spitting at me when he was arguing with me. It might have been on Politically Incorrect. There's a picture of Tucker, myself, Al Franken, and Eric Alterman. That was like in the early 2000s at a New York Times event. But look, I'm on the end, right? I did not want to go near Al Franken because we got into a really big, bad argument, so I stayed away from him in that particular photo. No thanks, I didn't want it. Brian, I want to go to you because you've been documenting and doing some investigative work today, looking back at some of the things that he's done and said that it makes us not all that surprised that this is where we are tonight.
Well, really, I don't know where to begin. I've been writing about Al Franken for over a decade, and I was going back through some of my old stories today, and I couldn't believe it. But there were so many warnings that the Democrats really, why they ever put him forward as a candidate, that they didn't heed. And really, it was amazing because 10 years ago, I wrote that they would be sorry for bringing him forward as a Senate candidate. And it was weird to read that today and see all that come true because essentially, but they built him up. The media built him up. The political class built him up with fluffy coverage, so he never had to worry about being scrutinized in any way. But his actual background is unbelievable. In fact, so much of what he's done hasn't even been mentioned today, and I want to bring up one in particular. He used to write a column for Playboy called Pornorama, and a lot of what was in that column we absolutely cannot talk about here on Fox News tonight. Trust me on that.
Isn't that lovely?
What I will say, I'll try to make this a PG version or whatever. He talked about his own 12-year-old son doing a report for school on bestiality, and how he downloaded visual aids from his computer to show to the class and how amused the students were by this.
I will say that,
was in that column.
R-rated language. That's fucking. That is just.
Column mentioned about some of his fantasies that he had about women to do, and I will not go any further.
Please don't, and neither will I take you there. My goodness.
Brian, what you're pointing to the depravity of the comedy. We've talked about this with Louis C.K. in the most disgusting, images and that he conjures up in his mind and passes it off as humor, which defines the man, of who the man is. And it doesn't surprise me.
Welcome back. Comedian Sarah Silverman had an interesting reaction to the fall of her friend, comedian Louis C.K., who's among the waves of celebrities taken down by credible misconduct claims. Roll the tape.
It's messy and it's complicated and it is going to hurt, but it's necessary and we'll all be healthier for it. And it sucks, and some of our heroes will be taken down and we will discover bad things about people we like, or in some cases, people we love.
Heroes? What? Louis C.K., a hero? Admitted to inappropriately touching himself in front of women multiple times. Ugh. Joining me now, sorry for that introduction, Raymond, is a reaction broadcaster, New York Times bestselling author Raymond Arroyo. Raymond, I've never thought Sarah Silverman was funny. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people are fans of hers.
Yeah.
Never made me laugh once. I never got her. But what about this?
We share this idea. You know, she sounds like she should join a monument conservation movement. I mean, we don't want to tear our heroes down. Heroes? This is a hero? This guy was a masher. He flashed. I mean, he's horrible. But Sarah Silverman is also a woman who portrays herself having sex with God.
Filthy comic.
She has contributed to a coarseness in society and a level of conversation about intimate things that kids and families don't need to hear, so I'm not going to go any further.
All right, so we got this.
Well, Jay-Z, he had a New York Times op-ed where he's arguing, very upset, about a friend of his, a rapper, Meek Mill, who has been parole. He violated his parole. He went to jail. Jay-Z writes today, we've got to do something about this. We need reform. And he makes this startling claim. In 2015, 1/3 of the 4.65 million people on parole or probation were black. Well, that means 2/3 aren't black. So that's a good thing, isn't it?
Wait a second. Why is Jay-Z suddenly like a political commentator or analyst?
Well, I think Jay-Z's looking out for himself. Remember, this is a man who was dealing crack at 13, stabbed his producer, and shot his brother. So if I were he, I'd be worrying about parole.